Imagine waking up one morning, opening the news, and reading this headline: "The Eiffel Tower has been sold." Not the tickets, not the souvenirs, the entire Eiffel Tower, sold not renovated. Who was bold enough to sell something that wasn't even theirs? The answer was Victor Lustig, a man so convincing that wealthy businessmen handed him a fortune for one of the world's famous landmarks. After getting away with it once, he tried it again. This is the story of the con artist who sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Victor Lustig, whose name according to officers at Alcatraz was Robert Miller, was born in 1890 in the Austrian-Hungarian town of Hostin, now part of the Czech Republic. From a young age, he discovered that he had a gift: he could make people believe almost anything. Instead of using those talents honestly, he turned them into weapons, and became one of the most skilled con artists in history. Every room Victor entered became his stage, every conversation became a performance. Now he is memorable. By 18, he'd moved from pickpocketing to taking victims for a ride at the card tables in Vienna. He could make a deck of cards do anything but talk, one victim told True Detective Mysteries magazine. Lustig moved around Europe like a pinball, from Vienna to Prague to London and back again. He faked and sold historical documents by reams of famous people, including Marie Curie, the Wright brothers, and Abraham Lincoln. When he went to a magazine office to defend the newly discovered Mark Twain story he'd sold them, which the Twain estate was contesting, his defense went so well he also managed to sell them a newly discovered Walt Whitman poem he just happened to have on hand. Lustig also had a knack for figuring out where the millionaires were hanging out. In 1914, it was around the poker tables of transatlantic ships. He paired up with another passenger, worked out a set of signals, and together they goaded unsuspecting players into going all in before one of them swept the winnings. In all his scams, he would vanish before anyone realized they had been tricked. Every scam taught him something new, but he was growing bored. He wanted something no one had ever attempted. Then Paris gave him an idea. By the time Lustig made it to Paris in 1925, the Eiffel Tower was 38 years old. Parisians hated it. A petition sent to the government after it went up called it a barbaric bulk and a ghastly dream. Writer Guy de Maupassant called it a lanky pyramid that should be smashed. Despite the pushback and the tower needing some 60 tons of paint every 7 years to maintain it, it stayed up. Lustig came to Paris prepared to make the play of his career. He'd been following the news about the tower, which had become a rusting eyesore, and had seen speculation in the newspapers about the government wanting to tear it down. It gave him an idea. He'd toyed with phony real estate scams before, once selling the Tower Bridge in London, but this would be a much bigger challenge and a much bigger reward. It would be a true test of his gift for salesmanship. He understood something most criminals never do. People don't buy facts, they buy confidence. So he built the perfect illusion. Lustig forged official government documents, reserved one of Paris's finest hotels, sent invitations to 6 of the city's biggest scrap metal dealers. Every detail screamed government business. When the businessmen arrived, Victor greeted them like an experienced government official. Calm, professional, and confident. He explained that maintaining the Eiffel Tower had become too expensive and the government had secretly decided to dismantle it and sell it as scrap metal. The meeting was confidential, no newspapers, no public announcements, only these 6 men had been invited. Suddenly what sounded impossible began sounding exclusive. Among them one man caught Lustig's attention. André Poisson was a newcomer to Paris, eager to make his mark on the city. Victor recognized insecurity immediately. He invited him aside, then hinted that government officials sometimes appreciated private gifts, a small bribe might guarantee the contract. Poisson later said that was what made Lustig so believable, he knew how corrupt the government really was. He then paid both the purchase price and the bribe. Days passed, nothing happened, no contracts, no demolition crews, no steel, no Eiffel Tower. Now, how do you explain to the police that you paid millions for one of the world's most famous landmarks? Poisson was too embarrassed to alert the police, so he stayed silent. This gave Lustig exactly what he wanted, a clean escape. Most would have stopped there. Seeing that nobody had reported the scam, he returned to Paris and attempted the same scheme a second time. Forged another set of documents, contacted another group of dealers, prepared to repeat the greatest scam of his life. This time, however, something changed. One became suspicious and called the police. This time, news of the scam hit the papers. Lustig thought it best to end his dance with Parisian fate there. He skipped town more permanently and moved his wife and daughter to the Chicago suburbs. You might think this was the peak of his criminal career. It wasn't. Lustig would go on to swindle legendary gangster Al Capone and build a $1 million counterfeiting business before Secret Service agents hauled him in for good for sending tens of thousands of fake $100 bills into the economy. Lustig's aggrieved mistress tipped them off to his whereabouts. By then, he'd grown so adept at the art of the con that he developed a set of rules for other fraudsters to use as a guide. Lustig was sentenced to 20 years in Alcatraz and served 14 of them before he died. Victor Lustig never invented magic, never hypnotized anyone, never threatened his victims. He simply understood something about human nature. People often believe what they want to believe. One man wanted status, another wanted wealth. Someone else wanted an opportunity no one else had. Victor sold them all, exactly what they were hoping to hear.